Time passed by quickly. The rain finally stopped, leaving the world washed and gray. The silence, that had once felt suffocating, began to soften, filled instead with the quiet hum of an old heater, the clink of dishes, the rustle of pages turning. Felicia woke earlier these days, drawn to the stillness. Sometimes she found Suho asleep on the couch, his jacket tossed aside, gun on the table beside him. Other mornings he was gone. Before dawn, leaving his side of the couch cold, the air faintly smelling of metal and smoke. He always came back though. Tired, bruised, sometimes with bloodstains all over him. But he came back. At first their words were few, a nod here, a small good morning there. But slowly the silence shifted into something gentler, something that didn't hurt to be in. One evening, Felicia stood in the kitchen, staring helplessly at the pots and pans. "Do you even know how to cook?" she asked without looking back. Suho glanced up from his phone at the table. "I can fry eggs." "That's not cooking," she said, half teasing. He smirked. "It's still a big achievement for me." She sighed, tying her hair up and opening the fridge. "Then we're doing this together." He looked skeptical. "You trust me with fire." "I don't trust you with anything," she said lightly. "But you're helping." For the first time in a long while, something like amusement flickered in his eyes. They cooked clumsily, with Felicia chopping vegetables while Suho handled the stove. He moved like someone who was used to precision, every motion calculated even when stirring. She wanted to burst into a fit of laughter at his carefulness that wasn't helping. The smell of garlic and soy sauce filled the air, mixing with faint laughter when he nearly burned the rice. "See," she said, waving a spoon at him. "You're terrible at this." He raised an eyebrow. "You're the one who put sugar in the stew." Felicia froze. That was creative. That was a crime. They both laughed then. It was a real, unguarded laughter that echoed softly through the small kitchen. For a moment, the walls didn't feel so close. When they sat down to eat, Felicia caught herself watching him. The way his shoulders eased. The way the edge in his voice dulled. He didn't look like the man who ordered people's deaths, or carried a gun under his coat. He just looked tired. He looked human. Felicia poked at her bowl with her chopsticks. "Okay, this isn't horrible." Suho pretended to look offended. "That's high praise coming from a professional food critic." "I'm serious. For someone who used to think instant noodles were a food group, this is progress." He gave a small chuckle, taking another bite. "So I pass." She tilted her head, pretending to think. "Barely. I'd give it a 6. Out of?" he asked. 10, she replied. He leaned back, smirking. 6 is generous. She smiled despite herself. "I'm being nice. You did almost burn down the kitchen." "That was part of the plan. It adds a smoky flavor," he shrugged. Felicia laughed, shaking her head. He glanced at her, softer now. "You're laughing." She blinked. "What?" He replied. "I've heard you shout, cry, threaten me, but not this. Not your laugh." Her cheeks warmed a little. "Well, don't get used to it." He smiled faintly. "Too late." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The clink of chopsticks, the faint hum of the heater, the rainwater still dripping from the roof outside. Everything felt strangely peaceful. Felicia looked down at her bowl, then glanced up. "You know, if you ever quit this whole mafia thing, you might survive as a chef." Suho raised an eyebrow. "A chef? Yeah. You've got the intimidation part down. I'd be terrified to complain about your food." He laughed quietly. "And you'd still do it?" "Of course," she said with a small grin. "Someone has to keep you humble." "Good luck with that," he muttered. They finished eating in companionable silence. When Felicia stood to wash the dishes, Suho automatically reached to help. Their fingers brushed over the sponge, just for a second, and both of them froze. Felicia looked up at him, caught between awkward and amused. "You really can't just sit still." Can you? He smiled, the corner of his mouth twitching. Not when there's work to do. They shared a quiet smile, a real one this time, before going back to the simple rhythm of washing dishes side by side. The next few days slipped by in quiet repetition. They found a rhythm. She cooked breakfast. He sometimes joined her, sometimes didn't. When he left, she'd sit by the window, watching the road, waiting for the sound of his car. Once, he came home with a cut across his cheek. When she reached for the first aid kit, he tried to wave her off. It's nothing. Let me, she insisted, her voice soft but steady. He hesitated, then sat down. As she dabbed antiseptic on his wound, he flinched slightly. You're terrible at this, he muttered. Then we're even, she said with a small smile. You can't cook. I can't patch people. He chuckled under his breath. She smiled. It was a sound she was starting to love more than you should. When she finished, she lingered a moment too long, her fingers brushing his jaw. Their eyes. Seconds passed, and they didn't break eye contact. She suddenly pulled her hand back. There. Thank you, he said quietly. She didn't trust herself to answer. Sometimes they watched old movies together in the evenings. The safe house only had a few old action films and one scratched-up DVD of The Notebook. She picked that one. Soo-ho groaned as the opening credits rolled. Please tell me this isn't another love story. It's a classic, Felicia said, curling up on the couch. He gave her a look. Classic torture. She hushed him. Shoo. You'll like it. He didn't. At least not at first. But by the end, when the screen faded to white and soft piano music played, she caught him staring not at the screen but at her. When she noticed, she turned to him, pretending not to blush. You're not supposed to look at me. He shrugged, a small smile tugging at his lips. You're more interesting. Her heart skipped. She looked away. You're terrible at compliments. I wasn't trying to compliment you. That makes it worse. But she was smiling and he saw it. Late at night, when he thought she was asleep, Soo-ho would stand by the window, smoking in silence. The smoke curled in the dim light. His face half shadowed, half lit. Felicia would watch from the hallway sometimes, hidden in the dark. She could tell when he'd had a hard day, his jaw tight, his shoulders tense, eyes far away. She wondered what he saw when he looked out into the city. Maybe ghosts, maybe regrets. One night she finally spoke. You can't save everyone, Soo-ho. He turned slightly surprised. I thought you were asleep. I couldn't, she admitted. It's too quiet. He exhaled slowly, setting the cigarette down. Quiet is good. Not always. He leaned against the wall, arms crossed. What about you? You don't talk about your past. Felicia hesitated. There's not much to tell. Let's hear it. She looked down, twisting her fingers. My father left when I was 12. He joined a cult or whatever he called it, back home. Soo-ho's brow furrowed. In Nigeria. She nodded. He thought it would make him powerful. Instead, it broke our family. My mother worked 3 jobs, and I stopped believing people came back when they said they would. He was quiet for a while. Did you ever see him again? No, her voice softened. He disappeared. I heard the group traveled out of the country and, since then, it's been crickets. Soo-ho's gaze dropped to the floor. I'm sorry. She gave a small shrug. I don't even know if I miss him or just the idea of him. That's still missing him, he said quietly. Felicia looked up at him, their eyes meeting. Maybe that's why I hate what you do. 'Cause I know what it turns people into. He nodded slowly, his expression unreadable. I hate it too. The next day, Felicia lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. She could hear him moving around downstairs and knew he was on his way out. She thought about the way he smiled now, hesitantly, like someone learning how to feel again. About the way he listened when she spoke. The way he stayed just close enough to protect her. but far enough not to scare her. He was changing. Or maybe he'd been this person all along, just buried under years of violence and loss. She turned toward the window, the city lights faint in the distance, and whispered into the quiet, "Please come back safe." From the hallway, she thought she heard the faintest reply from him. "I'll try." Weeks passed like a slow exhale. They'd fallen into something that neither of them dared to name. Sometimes she'd find him fixing things around the house that didn't need fixing, like a loose door hinge, a flickering bulb, or literally anything to stay near her without saying it aloud. Sometimes she'd tease him for it, and he'd pretend not to care. But at night, when she brushed past him in the narrow hallway, or when their hands met by accident while setting the table, both of them felt it a pull neither wanted to break. That night the rain started again. The windows fogged from the warmth inside, the air thick with the smell of soy and ginger from dinner. Felicia stood by the counter, humming softly while drying the dishes. Suho stood nearby, sleeves rolled up, pretending to help but mostly watching her, like he was memorizing the small sound she made. "You're staring," she said without looking up. He smirked. "I'm supervising." She glanced at him, a small smile tugging at her lips. "You're distracting. That's part of the job description." They drifted closer without meaning to. She could feel the warmth of him behind her, his breath near her neck. When she turned, he was already there, close enough that her heart skipped. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Her knife clinked against the counter. His gaze dropped to her lips. The air between them felt charged, heavy with things unsaid. "Felicia," he murmured, voice low. She didn't pull away this time. His hand brushed her cheek, hesitant, almost trembling. When his lips touched hers, it was slow and careful, as if asking a question rather than making a claim. She kissed him back, eyes fluttering shut, every thought dissolving into the quiet rhythm of their breath. The kiss deepened, warmth melting into heat. Her hands slid to his chest. His arm found her waist. The world shrank to warmth, breath, and the sound of rain. For a moment, it felt like everything that had haunted them was gone. No enemies, no fear, no war waiting outside. Just them. Until a loud knock shattered it all. "Boss!" A voice barked from the hallway. Suho froze, still holding her. Felicia's breath trembled against his chest. "Sir, it's urgent." He cursed under his breath, pulling back, his jaw tight. "Stay here." Felicia nodded, still dazed as he adjusted his shirt and opened the door. One of the guards stood there, rain dripping from his jacket. "There's someone here to see you," the man said. "Cha-Eun-young." Suho's expression hardened immediately. "Now." "He says it's important." Suho's gaze flicked once toward Felicia, the softness already gone, replaced by the mask she hated. "Send him in," he commanded. A few minutes later, Eun-young entered. He was tall, skinny, and had curly brown hair. His gray coat was still wet from the rain. He glanced briefly at Felicia in the corner, then turned to Suho with a grim nod. "You look alive," Suho muttered, pouring himself a drink. "Barely," Eun-young replied. He glanced at Felicia briefly, then back at him. "We need to talk. Alone." "She stays," Suho said. Eun-young hesitated, then nodded. "Fine. But you're not going to like this." He placed a folded envelope on the table. "Intel from our informant inside Mr. Han's circle. They know where you are." Suho stiffened. "That's impossible. This location isn't on any record." "It doesn't matter," Eun-young replied grimly. "Tae-min's men are planning a retaliation. He's already moved units to the district. You have maybe 2 days, 3 at best." Felicia felt her stomach drop. "They're coming here." Eun-young nodded once. "This place is burned. You need to relocate to another hideout." Suho's jaw tightened. "You're sure about this?" "Positive. If you stay, you die." Silence fell. Only the rain tapping the windows broke it. Felicia's heart pounded as she looked between them. So what now? Suho didn't answer right away. He turned to Eun-young. Which hideout? There's one in Buchan Valley, Eun-young said. It is isolated and secure. Han won't reach it easily. Suho nodded once. We'll go before dawn. Eun-young gave a curt bow. I'll have the cars ready. He hesitated, then lowered his voice. Be careful, Hyung. Han's not the same man you fought last time. When the door shut behind him, Suho turned back toward Felicia. She stood by the window, arms wrapped around herself, watching the rain. Pack your things, he said. The move was sudden and tense. Within an hour, the safe house was stripped of any trace of them. Felicia moved in silence, folding clothes with shaking hands. Suho gave orders in clipped tones, every word deliberate. Eun-young coordinated the vehicles, his calm efficiency making him trustworthy. When they finally got in the car, the city lights vanished behind them. The rain had stopped, leaving behind a heavy mist that clung to the mountains. The world outside looked almost peaceful, pine trees swaying gently, streams cutting through the valley floor. Felicia sat beside Suho, her hands gripping her knees. He kept one hand on the wheel, the other resting loosely near his gun. She could see the reflection of the passing headlights in his eyes. Where exactly are we going? She asked quietly. Somewhere safer, he said. That's what you said last time. He didn't answer. The drive stretched on. The only sound was the engine and the rain on the windshield. Felicia's heart thudded with a familiar ache. The sense of being trapped again, moved like a piece on a board she didn't understand. Finally, she whispered, Do I get a say in any of this? Suho's grip tightened on the steering wheel. This isn't a democracy, Felicia. She turned toward him, voice rising. Then what am I? Pet. A hostage. Because I'm starting to forget. His eyes flicked toward her, pain flashing through them. Don't do that. Do what? Make me choose between your safety and your freedom. Her chest constricted. That's not your choice to make. He slammed the brakes. The car lurched to a stop on the side of the road, rain hammering against the roof. Suho's breathing was rough, his knuckles white against the steering wheel. You don't understand. Then make me, she whispered. Because I'm tired, Suho. I'm tired of running, tired of being scared, tired of loving someone who keeps building walls around both of us. Her words hung in the air, trembling. He froze. What did you say? Felicia blinked, realizing too late what she'd admitted. You said you love me. Her throat tightened. It doesn't matter. It does, he said softly. It's the only thing that matters. She turned away, tears blurring her vision. I want to be free, Suho. I want us to be free. From all of this. Suho turned around. When they finally reached the hideout, a secluded wooden lodge nestled against the slope, the air was cold and still. It would have been beautiful if not for the weight pressing on both their chests. That night she stood by the window, arms crossed, staring out at the dark trees. Suho was behind her, checking his gun. His movements quiet but precise. So this is it, she said finally. Our new cage. He looked up. It's safe. Safe, she repeated bitterly with a scoff. That doesn't make it any better. You move me from one locked place to another and call it protection. Suho's jaw tightened. You think I enjoy this? I just want to breathe without wondering who's coming for us next. She shouted, tears in her eyes. He froze. The anger in her voice hit deeper than any bullet. For a long moment he said nothing. Then quietly, You think I don't want that too? Felicia blinked, startled by the break in his tone. Suho looked down, his voice rough. Every night I close my eyes I see their faces, the ones I lost, the ones I killed. I tell myself it's worth it, but it never feels like it. I keep fighting because if I stop, there's nothing left. She suddenly felt she had overreacted with her words. She felt a pang of guilt seeing his face. She stepped closer, her voice softening. There's me. He looked up, eyes meeting hers. I'm here, she whispered. And I hate that I love you in all this mess, but I do. I love you, Suho. And it scares me because I don't know where it ends. With us together, or with you bleeding out in some alley while I keep running. I'm just scared. The silence after that was sharp enough to hurt. He exhaled, closing his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, the coldness was gone. He reached for her, hands trembling slightly as he cupped her face. I love you too, Felicia. I'm just as scared as you are. I want to stop too, but I can't. It has to end in blood. Either mine or his. Then, when this is over, we'll start again, somewhere no one knows our names. Felicia searched his eyes. Promise me. He nodded slowly. I promise. She leaned in and their lips met. Slow at first, then deeper, fuller, desperate. It wasn't the reckless kind of kiss they'd shared before. It was a vow, fragile and real. Her hands tangled in his hair. His thumb brushed a tear from her cheek. For the first time in months, there was peace. A fragile piece of forever pressed between them. Days passed as they settled in. Suho was constantly on edge, checking the perimeter, speaking in low tones with Eun-young outside. Felicia tried to make the place feel human by lighting candles, cooking simple meals, humming under her breath to fill the silence. Sometimes, Suho would catch her singing softly and pause, watching like it hurt to remember what peace sounded like. It was late afternoon when Cha Eun-young stopped by again. The sun was dipping behind the mountains, its gold spilling across the wooden porch of the Buchan house. Suho was outside fixing something by the steps. He always found something to fix when he was restless, and Eun-young stood nearby, leaning against the railing, talking about a shipment that went missing. Felicia watched from the kitchen window as they spoke in low tones, the kind of conversation where every word carried weight. She came out quietly with a tray of tea. The air smelled of pine and damp earth. Suho looked up at her, the hard edges of his face softening instantly. Thank you, he said, taking one cup. Eun-young smiled politely, reaching for his own. You're getting better at this domestic life, Young. He teased lightly, glancing between the two of them. Felicia smiled faintly, unsure how to respond. Then, as she set down the tray, something on his wrist caught her eye. It was a watch. Sleek, silver-black, with a narrow face and a faint crack near the dial. That's a really nice watch, she said, her tone casual and curious. Eun-young glanced at it, a small grin forming. Ah, this. A gift. Sold, though. You like watches. She said, tilting her head. I just feel like I've seen one like that before. Maybe in one of those luxury ads. She chuckled softly, brushing it off. You know, the ones with the men in suits and glass buildings in the background. Maybe, he said smoothly. It's a common brand. Suho looked between them briefly, his gaze unreadable, then turned back to his work. Felicia smiled, but something about that watch stayed in her mind longer than she wanted it to. But despite the calm surface, something in the air felt wrong. Eun-young's visits became more frequent. He'd arrive with reports, maps, updates about Han's movements. He was polite, efficient. Too polite, Felicia thought. His eyes lingered a little too long when he smiled. She mentioned it once to Suho. Your friend, she said quietly. He watches everything. He's always been cautious, Suho replied absently. That's why he's still alive. She wanted to say something else, but she held her tongue. She had already stressed him out way too much with her harsh words. Planting seeds of doubt in his mind that'd stress him was the last thing she'd want to do. 3 days later, the sky turned the color of ink and lavender. The valley below was quiet, save for the soft hum of crickets. Felicia was inside folding blankets when Suho came in from outside, smelling faintly of pine and rain. Get dressed, he said simply. She blinked. Why? He didn't answer right away, only smirked. Just do it. Her curiosity stirred as she slipped into a soft dress. It was the simple soft pink one he'd once said he liked. When she stepped outside, she froze for a moment. The porch had been transformed. A small table stood under the hanging lantern, candles flickering gently. 2 plates, 2 glasses, a bottle of wine. Soft music, an old jazz tune, played from a speaker set by the doorway. The air was warm, the sky deep and clear. She turned to him, stunned. "Suho, what is this?" He shrugged slightly, trying to look nonchalant, though the faint nervousness in his eyes betrayed him. "Dinner. I thought you deserved one after everything." Felicia's lips parted in surprise, then curved into a smile. "You cooked." He smirked. "Don't push your luck. Eun-young brought it over. Said it was from that Italian place you mentioned once." She blinked again, her chest tightening unexpectedly. "You remembered that." "Of course I did," he said quietly, then pulled out a chair for her. "When this is over, we'll visit the place together." She smiled at his thoughtfulness. They sat down. For a while, there was only the sound of cutlery and quiet laughter. Felicia's heart felt light, something rare these days. She'd forgotten what it felt like to just be herself, to laugh without fear lurking in the background. "Why all this effort?" she teased as she poured him more wine. He gave her that half-smile again. "Because I wanted to see that bright, charming smile." The words caught her off guard. She looked at him, eyes softening. "You're getting better at saying things like that," she said, trying to hide how much it moved her. "Don't tell anyone," he hushed playfully. They both laughed, their eyes meeting across the candlelight. For a long, beautiful second, the world outside disappeared. The chaos, the danger, the ghosts of everything they'd lost. None of it mattered. He reached across the table, brushing his fingers against hers. "I know it's not much," he said, voice low. "But for now, this is all I can give you for now." She squeezed his hand gently. "It's enough," she whispered. "For me, it's enough." They sat like that, fingers intertwined, until the air turned cooler. Later, as the candles burned lower, Suho leaned forward, his eyes soft. "You're staring again," he said quietly. She blinked, startled. "I wasn't." "You were." His voice carried amusement. "I guess," she said, smiling. "You look different when you're not frowning." He chuckled. "And you look different when you're not scared." Her smile faltered just slightly. "Maybe I'm both." Then he leaned closer, his gaze dipping to her lips. She looked up at him, panic slowly creeping in. "Eun-young's watch, it's the same one. Remember? The man who..." Her voice broke. "One of them had that exact same watch." Suho's brows furrowed. "Are you sure?" I think so." She pressed a hand to her forehead. The memory was too sharp and sudden. Her pulse quickened. "I'm sure. It had that same crack near the..." Then she stopped mid-sentence, her vision tilting. The candles blurred. The edges of the world rippled like water. "Ho!" she managed to whisper. He stood abruptly, the chair scraping back. "Felicia!" She swayed. Her head throbbed. Everything around her felt distant and faded. Then Suho's expression changed. First it was confusion, then realization, then fear. He grabbed the table for balance, his knees buckling. "What the?" His voice slurred, the words thick and heavy. Felicia reached for him, her hands trembling. "Suho, what's..." But before she could finish, the darkness swallowed her whole. The night went still. The candles flickered weakly, their flames bowing to the wind. 2 glasses lay tipped on their sides, crimson wine spreading slowly across the tablecloth. From the shadows beyond the porch, Eun-young stepped forward. His face was calm, almost serene. He glanced at the 2 unconscious figures, the faintest smirk curving his lips. He crouched down beside Suho, brushing imaginary dust from his jacket. "You always did trust too easily, Hyung," he murmured, almost regretful. Then he looked at Felicia, her head resting against Suho's arm, her face pale but peaceful. His gaze lingered a moment longer. "You shouldn't have come into this world," he said softly. None of this was meant for you. He stood, buttoned his coat, and glanced once more at the glowing valley below. The wind carried the faint echo of laughter that had filled this porch just an hour ago. Now only silence remained, and the soft ticking of his watch. The world returned slowly. First the cold, then sound. Engines hummed, metal groaned, and water slapped against steel. Felicia's head throbbed. When she tried to move, ropes dug into her wrists. Her eyes flew open. Dim light swung overhead inside a rust-scented container. Beside her, Suho sat slumped, bound. "Suho," she whispered, shaking him. "Wake up." He stirred, eyes blinking open. "Where are we?" "I don't know. We're tied up." He sniffed the air, listening. "Ships. I think we're at the docks," he murmured grimly. Her throat went dry. "Oh God." Then, the container doors screeched open and the light caused them to blink. Several armed men flooded into the space, forming a path for a middle-aged man in a blue suit to step in. He was calm, sharp, and powerful. "Han Tae-min," Suho hissed. Tae-min smiled, taking his seat. "You look well, considering the circumstances." His eyes slid to Felicia. "The foreign girl. Quite the scandal you've caused over her." Felicia swallowed hard. "Who are you?" "The man your boyfriend's been running from." Suho strained against his ropes. "Let her go." Tae-min only laughed. "Still making demands. You haven't changed." He leaned back, crossing one leg over the other. "You should have stayed where you belonged, Suho, instead of playing hero." Suho tried to attack, but a guard stepped in and pressed a gun to Felicia's head. "Any movement, she's gone." "I don't make empty threats," Tae-min warned. Felicia froze in fear. Suho immediately held back himself. Tae-min ordered the guard to step back. "Good," Tae-min said. "Now let's talk." Then another figure appeared, Cha Eun-young. Felicia's heart dropped. "Eun-young, you drugged us." Suho snapped in realization. Eun-young's expression was calm. "You dragged us into war with Han, fighting for honor that doesn't exist anymore. I made my own deal." Tae-min chuckled, enjoying the scene. Felicia's voice trembled. "You lied to us." "That's how trust works," he said coldly. "You build it, then use it." Eun-young smirked, lifting his wrist to show a watch. Felicia gasped. "That watch? It was you, wasn't it? The night I was taken." He met her eyes, then nodded. "It's a mark. Only Han's high-ranking men wear it. The crack," he tapped it, "is a symbol of loyalty." Felicia's chest tightened. "You're one of them." Suho's eyes widened in shock. Tae-min smirked. "He isn't the only one." He turned to Felicia. "You should know, you were never a stranger in this. Your father once worked for me." Felicia froze. "What?" "He was a part of my organization in West Africa." His eyes slid back to Felicia. "He left you and your mother when you were 12, right? The branch was called to South Korea." Suho's jaw clenched. "Stop lying." Tae-min's gaze sharpened. "The night your mother died, Suho, the man who pulled the trigger was her father." The world stopped. Felicia shook her head, tears spilling. "No, you're lying." Tae-min motioned to Eun-young, who handed Suho a photo. In it, a man stood beside a dead woman, Suho's mother, and wore a cracked watch identical to the one Felicia had noticed days ago. Suho's breath hitched. "Your father killed my mother." Felicia sobbed. "I didn't know." "Please." Tae-min smiled thinly. "And that's what I call symmetry. Two broken families, bound by blood and love." He stepped closer. "You want revenge, Suho? Power. Then kill her. End her and join hands with me. I'll give you peace." Felicia's breath caught. "You want him to kill me?" Suho's voice cracked. "You're insane." "Do it." "She's the only thing making you weak," Tae-min whispered. "You killed your brother for loyalty. Kill her for love." Suho's whole body trembled. Then he raised his head. I can't. I'd rather die than live as your monster. And I'll burn your world before I give her up. Taemin's calm shattered. Then you'll die as a fool. He snapped his fingers. Take them to the ship. Guards dragged them out. But before they reached the docks, Soo-ho twisted, disarmed a guard, and fired at the guard holding Felicia. Chaos erupted. Run! He yelled, grabbing Felicia's hand. They ducked behind containers, gunfire lighting the night. Keep your head down. When Soo-ho's gun clicked empty, Felicia pulled a cartridge from her pocket. I took it from a guard, she said. He grinned in admiration despite the danger. You're insane. Reloading, he covered her as they sprinted, until Cha Eun-young stepped into their path, gun raised. Don't make it worse, he warned. Soo-ho's voice hardened. You made your choice. 2 shots rang out. Eun-young fell down dead. Felicia gasped, traumatized. Soo-ho snapped out and dragged her along, as they fled to a small boat, cutting loose as bullets hit the water behind them. The docks faded into darkness. Felicia clutched the railing, trembling. Is it over? Soo-ho stared at the horizon. Not yet. But we're not theirs anymore. She looked at him through tears. Why aren't you angry about my father? You should hate me. You should be yelling, blaming me, doing something. You were given the chance at peace if you had pulled the trigger at me. But you didn't. Why? Because I love you, he said simply. Her breath hitched. I've lost everything, he said softly. But you're the only thing that ever made it make sense. No past can change that. That shattered her. She covered her face, sobbing. I'm sorry for all the times I pushed you away, for not trusting you, for my father. I know it can't fix anything but... He pulled her into his arms. It means everything, he murmured. Bang. A gunshot tore through the night. Han Tae-min had caught up with them and fired at Felicia. Soo-ho pushed her down, shielding her, just as the bullet hit him. He staggered and fell against her. Soo-ho, she screamed, catching him. His blood smeared across her hands. Her heart stopped. No, no, please no. He coughed up blood, trembling. The sight froze her veins. Rage, grief, and terror all collided inside her. She grabbed Soo-ho's gun and fired. The bullet hit Tae-min's head squarely. He toppled into the sea. Felicia stood shaking, smoke rising from the gun, shocked at what she did. Felicia. Her head snapped down. Soo-ho's fingers twitched against her, groaning. Soo-ho, she cried in relief, holding his face. Oh my God, I thought you. He gave a faint, pained chuckle. He only hit my arm. Felicia gasped, half laughing, half crying, and collapsed against his chest. I thought you were dead. I thought. He smiled weakly, wrapping his good arm around her. You thought wrong. Her shoulders shook as she clung to him, whispering. I shot him. I shot Taemin. I didn't even think, I just. He nodded. Good. You did what I couldn't. She looked at him, eyes wet. It's over. He nodded. Yeah. It's over now. The boat drifted into the dark sea, carrying them away from the wreckage of everything behind. Felicia leaned into Soo-ho's side. His arm wrapped weakly around her, the horizon glowing faintly with dawn. For the first time in a long while, the world felt still. The ocean swallowed the past, the pain, the lies. All of it, leaving only the sound of their breathing and the promise of another sunrise. Whatever waited ahead, they would face it together. And this time they were free. And now we've come to the end of this story. Thank you so much for watching and for your support, everyone. More exciting stories are coming this week, so don't forget to subscribe, like, and share to stay tuned for more Moon Bunny adventures.